Here's what marketing gurus don't want you to know about making money. Guys, like that bothered me for the longest time. Whenever I was trying to learn marketing, whenever I was trying to make it, to understand how I can serve my customers the best, I really struggled for a long time and I was extremely frustrated. Well, what happened was I was going on that journey to understand, okay, what are the best ways that I can deliver results to my client? How can I do that? How can I be the best and help out my customers the best I can possibly do? And one of the things that I really struggled was having the right information, because we're in the information age. We can have whatever we want, whenever we want. Type on Google, you can find the answer. The only problem with that is that everybody can put out some information and it can be good or it can be really, really bad. And 95% of the time, it's extremely bad. And I was in that, like, in that with those guys that weren't sharing great information. And by great information, I mean specifically, and I've got something against those guys, but even though that's the correct way to do things, but I get it, and I got something against those guys. So sorry if you fall into that category, but I think like my commandos don't fall into that. But what I really struggled with, like connecting with, were the guys that told you, oh, this is the new method. This is the thing that's working right now. Go use it. They make a course on it. They drive a ton of traffic on it. And hoops, a few months later, algorithm changes and now it doesn't work anymore. And all of a sudden, those guys disappears with the method that they just created a few months ago. And that frustrated me so much, like you cannot even imagine, because look at me, like I'm just trying to understand, okay, what were the ins and outs of marketing, just like, trying to understand the whole game. And you're here, you get into something, you're like, oh yes, you take some time to learn about it, to implement it, make it work for you. And then like, fuck it, it doesn't work anymore. Like, what's the point? You understand what I mean, guys? You understand why this is so frustrating? Like, I was in so much angry against those guys. But anyway, ultimately, I was like, okay, I'm not going to go talk to those guys anymore, and I'm going to focus more on like the real guys, the gurus. That I don't like to say the word guru, but you understand me. The leaders, the guys, the experts of these niches of marketing, selling, and all those things. And that's whenever I found out the real guys, like the guys that were making real money, not selling a course on the side and making a few bucks, but the guys that were making millions and millions and sometimes billions of dollars, whether they're alive or dead. I saw that the same strategies applied. And that was strange because I thought that, man, I gotta like master the algorithm or do some tricky thing on Google or Facebook to make it work for my business. But when you think about it, like some people made it work with just newspapers. And if you try to pay for a newspaper ad right now, hope you got a big bank account because you're going to be in for a treat. But the thing is, those guys still made it work. And I was like, man, how can it work? Because those guys were telling me, oh, Facebook ads is the only way because it's cheap. But in my head, I realized that, man, like those guys that were paying like billion more times in advertising costs than you still made it work and made a ton of money. So what's the trick? What's the strategy? And I realized something. I realized things that those guys, those marketing gurus that were coming in and getting out, they didn't want you to know those things that I'm going to share with you right now, because if you understand those things, you don't need to know the fresh thing of the moment, because the principles I'm going to share with you are going to work forever. They worked 100 years ago and they still work today. And those guys don't want you to know that, because if not, what's the meaning of having like a cool trick of the moment? You know what I mean? The hype thing. So I'm going to share with you those things that really opened my eyes and really helped me to understand what is marketing, how it works, and how every businesses can get as many customers as they are able to get today if they do the right things. Number one thing that you got to understand is that you got to start to understand first, that marketing and selling are two extremely different things. Extremely different. They are different, like differently positioned in the sales funnel. Whenever you're looking at marketing, people are just like, okay, like you put a funnel, you get conversions. But the thing is, when you look at it like that way, you forget a big like aspect of marketing, that is to create a bridge with your customer when they don't know you. Marketing is prior to selling. Listen to this. Marketing is prior to selling. What does that mean? The marketing that you're going to make is going to be the bridge to the sales page that you got. And you got to understand the thing. A sales funnel, like a sales page, this isn't marketing, really. It's selling. It's just selling on the internet. Same thing as if you were in real life. Let's take, for example, let's take a car dealership, for example. The prospectors that are doing the paper ads they are doing, those things are the things that are driving traffic. Those are the marketing means they are using. But the selling happens when the people are like, okay, I'm aware of them. I'm going to go to the dealership. And then from there, the selling happens. But you got to understand that those are two different things, two extremely different things. And if you don't understand that, you're going to use them wrong, because those are two strategies that have two different goals, very distinct. And you got to understand that first thing first. And second thing, if you understand that, you're able to understand the second thing I'm going to talk about to you guys. If the system is broken, you got to look at the step before that. So what does that mean? If your sales are broken, maybe it's not the fact that you're not good at selling. Maybe it is, but I would advise you to look at the step before that in your sales process first. Okay, maybe I'm not driving enough traffic. Maybe my bridge to those guys, maybe my ads is not working. Maybe the thing I'm saying on this live episode, maybe this podcast interview does not create a bridge that's solid enough for them to actually go check me out and generate a sale. So always check the step before that, because you got to understand that if, for example, you work your sale in a certain way, the closing gets easy if you do it correctly. But if you do not do the steps before that the right way, what's going to happen is ultimately the closing is going to be impossible, or at best extremely hard. So you got to make sure those steps before the final step, the close, are done correctly. And you got to understand one thing, guys. I think I told it already, but marketing is prior to selling. Doesn't mean it's more important. Like, I know a lot of like sales guys are really like, oh no, like, you got to close the deal. Yes, I'm with you guys. I'm with you. I understand. I'm with you guys. Prior doesn't mean better. It just means, as I just told you, it comes before selling. Do you understand? Coming before means that you got to make sure it's set it up the right way, because if it's set it up the right way, what's going to happen exactly? Well, what's going to happen is that, guys, you're going to close more deals, because if the bridges that you set up with the customers when they discover you, or when you reach out to them after some amount of time, if the bridge is strong enough, then the close is easy, extremely easy. So you got to make sure that you understand that marketing is prior to selling. And if you understand that, you're able to shift your mindset and focus on, okay, how can I create a great bridge? How can I create a great marketing piece that's going to make the sale ultimately easier? Do you guys like what I just shared with you? If so, share this podcast episode with somebody that's interested in learning more things like that.